Okay, so the recording has started. So now you're welcome to our class for today. Once again, my name remains Amadi Chile, and I'm glad to be your instructor to guide you throughout the entire course of this program. And once again, I must say I'm glad with the effort that you've put in so far. So today is not Sunday, but this is what we are meant to learn last week Sunday, but we just have to move it over to this week. So we are going to move on. Remember, in our last class we learned how to do our React router, how to use hooks, both the local and the global, and we learned how to use our atom. And in your final project you're going to see how that will be applied. So now today we want to learn in the class I was not able to, the part I was not able to cover last week, which is let me show you. So if I go to previous, not here, we are also going to cover this one. I covered some of this in the last video. So in the part that we are not able to cover, which I made a video for it last time, we are going to apply those things in this video. So if you have not watched that video, I strongly recommend you to watch that one. That was the third video for last week. Now if you recall, in our Sunday's class we stopped at React hooks, right? So in that React hooks we learned about some of the rules of hooks, then the hook scope, global and local, then the local hooks, which are all this one. So we learned about all these things and we also learned how to use our custom hooks. So all those concepts we are going to apply them now. Then I also told you that the videos for this we already last week, and that was the third video you received on your Telegram video topic. So this one, so we'll be applying this concept now, the React list, the mapping and rendering a list, adding unique keys, benefit of links. So we are going to be adding that. Then React forms. So if you have watched that video, you see how I did the React forms at first, then I was able to get the data, then later I now use a third-party package called Formic to easily collect my data without using my use state. Then I now use another third-party package called Yop, which works very, very well with Formic to validate my form even before I collect the data, so that the data will be in the right format before I send it to the backend. So all of those we learned in, or I explained in that video. So now for this our class today, we are going to learn how to build a blog post React website with API calls from JSON Placeholder. Now JSON Placeholder is a free API that you can use for learning purposes. So remember, as a front-end developer, when you design the front-end, at first it will be static. So you need to call APIs, which is you need to connect it to the back-end links so that the data will be dynamic. So like if it is a login, it will be able to keep track of that login details, be able to show new page based on the user login and all those stuff. So we are going to see how we can call APIs. And by the way, API means application peripheral interface. So we are going to learn how to do that using the JSON Placeholder. But there is one problem we have with the JSON Placeholder, as we will soon see. It is online, of course it's online, but the prepared data structure does not allow you to delete or update the data. So it will not give you a feel of how it will actually be in the real backend data. So that is why we are going to do the same project using JSON server, which is an offline version, but it will give you a feel of how the APIs actually work in the real world. So we are going to start the project with this, learn how to call the APIs, then attempt to maybe delete a blog and see how it works. Then we'll now switch to this, which we use to complete the project. So these are the things that we'll learn, and this might take the whole day. So we want to begin. So I want to switch my screen. So I would like to share my VS Code, which is this. Okay, so I'll switch to my VS Code screen. So in here, what we want to do now is we need to install some packages, or a package first. So if you're with me, let's switch to the browser first. So I want to switch to the browser. I want you to always remember that whatever I do here is online. So I'll show you how I get it online, so that in case you forget, you can easily search for it online and do what I want to do. So let me switch to my browser. Switch to my browser. Can't find out. This is the issue we have now, to be switching screen. I can't see my browser here, so let me stop sharing and share again. Okay, I've seen it. Okay, so what I want us to do now is I want to show you the two packages that we use to make our job easier. We use Ashes. So just type npm Ashes. So what is Ashes? Ashes is a package that we can use to easily. Please excuse me, let me answer my mom. Auntie. Okay, sorry for that. So Ashes is a package that easily helps us to get data from a server, from a backend. Either we make a get request, or a post request, a delete request, or a patch request. Now, if you're taking note, a get request is when you want to get something from the backend. So you use .get. Then a post request is when you want to send data to the backend. So use .post. Then a delete request is when you want to delete a particular stuff. So you use the delete request. So it is being handled on the backend like that. Then a patch request is when you want to update. When you want to update anything in the backend. It can be a blog post, it can be an image, anything. So you use the delete request, the patch request. So Ashes makes it easier for us to do that. So there is another one which is the built-in JavaScript fetch, but that one's process is there's a little process added to that one, so which I don't like, especially when I'm teaching new students, so I do not look complicated. So we are going to use Azure. So to install Azure, we are going to type npm install Azure. So we have seen this one. Then the next one that we are going to use, so I want to open another tab, is this. We're going to use JSON, so I'm going to type npm JSON server. So npm JSON server will help us to create a fake backend that is not online. It just lives within our system and is used for also learning purposes. So look at it here, the JSON server. So look at it here. So if you want to read about it, so this is the documentation. So to install it, you have to type npm JSON server. So I'm going to copy this. So please, I strongly recommend that you follow me along, so that by the time we are setting up the site, it will be easier for you to set along. So I'm going to show you how to start the server, how to create a database like this, and the resources that we need. So we have a lot to learn today, but the first step now is installation. So I'm going to copy this. So I'm going to do my Ctrl+C. So I'm going to install both of them the same time. So I want to change my terminal once again. So I hope you guys are following me. Please, I would love it if you can install along with me, but if for some reason you're not connecting with your laptop, please just take note of the installations. You can write the installation command so that you can easily install them when your system is available. Then always feel free to ask your question. So I have my second screen here, so if I see your hand up, I'll pause and attend to your question. So I want to move to my VS Code terminal. So again, I'll change my screen to my VS Code terminal. So I've swapped my screen. Remy, your hand is up, please answer.
Good afternoon. Please, you said Azure. Can you spell it again, please?
Okay, Azure is AXIOS.
Okay, and then so this, what you're now downloading, this npm, is that for Azure as well, or can I see JSON server? So
Yes. We want to install two packages because we are going to use the JSON server, which is online, which is free, but it does not give us more control as we want. But we'll now use the one that gives us more control, which is the offline JSON server. So the one that is online is JSON placeholder, but the offline owner is the JSON server. So it gives us more control as we want, or like a real backend. Okay, please continue. Then the Azure is just is a package that makes it easier for us to like make requests to the backend, either a GET request, a POST request, a patch request, or a delete request. And those 4 requests, we are going to use it in this blog project.
okay, thank you, sir.
Okay, you're welcome. So I want to open my terminal now. So remember, I've already copied that command, so I'll right click and paste. So this is npm install JSON server, then space, I'm going to type the next one, ashes. So let me zoom a little so I can see my terminal more clearly. So I believe this is better. So npm I or install JSON server. So you see the spelling of JSON server, then ashes. So I'll hit enter so that it will install those two packages at the same time.
Guys, I have another question. Is this installation, do you have to do it for every project or we can install it globally?
Yes, I think for the JSON server it might want us to install it globally. So after this I'm going to do that just to curb that error. But for any other packages that we install for each project, you must install them.
Okay.
Yes, the only packages that you need to install globally are the ones that serves as keywords, like you want to use them to create like a file or something else, like that byte, you know, we installed it as -g, which is globally. So I'm going to yes, so anyone we install globally means that it has to do more work outside our project. Okay, you're welcome. So just to avoid any errors, I'm going to install this JSON server globally because I've used it like that before, so I don't want any errors today. So today is an error-free day. So thank you for that reminder. So I'm going to do my arrow up key, so to bring out the previous command, and close this guy so I'll have some room. So I'm going to remove the ashes, then I'll just add -g. Of course I'm using Linux, so this is going to tell me to log in as an admin. So it's going to ask me to log in as an admin before it will carry out that command. So I've installed it locally on my project. Okay, didn't ask me this time, but now I'm installing it globally. So I hope you are taking note of this step. You install the ashes and JSON server as a dependency in your project. So I'm going to sign in as an admin, so sudo -s. So this might not, if you're using Windows, this might not be an issue. So I'm going to bring out that command again. npm, so let me paste that. So npm install JSON server, just put -g. So if you're using Windows, you might not have to like sign in as an admin before you to install it. But because I'm using Linux, I have to do that extra process. Let me check if our recording is still on. Okay, it's still on. So I got it right. Is the sharing the entire screen that is making Telegram to stop my video recorder. So we are good today. So only the extra stress. Of switching screens. Okay, so it has been installed. So I want to close my terminal so that I will not even closing it. I have to close these other terminals so that I don't write a command as an admin, because if I write a command as an admin, when I want to run the same command, I must also sign in as an admin before I can do that. So now I want to start up my JSON server, so I'm going to do that still from here so that I can see. So I'm going to create a new terminal. So I'm going to type npm run dev. So let's see how our project looks like. Then you watch me as I clear it off. Okay, so our project has started. So I'll hold my control and tap here, so it will open on my default browser, which is my Chrome. So let me see if it has opened. I think I didn't click that way, so let me click it here again. So follow link. Okay, so it has moved to my browser, so I have to switch the screen so I can see that. So now the VAT project has been loaded. So if I click on my bottle, I get this. So these are some of the things we did in our last class. Then my car, then we did this, then we have the blog, then we have this. So what we are going to do now is this, our blog has to be cleaned up. So the first project is we want to build a blog project, and the blog project will look like this. It will show some list of blogs. Then once you click each of the blog, it will take you to a blog details where you load the details of that blog. Then from the details of that blog page, you can decide if you want to delete the blog, update the blog from there. So of course, before you can do that, we don't want a situation where any person that just goes into the details page can choose to delete the blog if he doesn't like it. So that's why we need a login system and a sign-up system, so that when a user logs in as an admin or as a sub-admin, depending on what you want to do it, but I use admin. So if you log in as an admin, you see the buttons to delete and update your blog. But if you don't log in as an admin, you just see only the back button. So that way we can actually learn how to call APIs when we are building a React project. So with that in mind, let's look at the JSON placeholder online. So I'm going to close this one just to reduce the tabs. So I'm going to type JSON placeholder. So if I click this here, you're going to see JSON placeholder. And if you look at this description here, JSON placeholder is a free online REST API that you can use wherever you need some fake data. It can be in a README on GitHub or demo. So once you need to use some fake data, that will be very, very useful. So we want to use that for learning purposes now. So these are some of the things that it offers as fake data. So the resources it has the posts. So if you want to build a project that has to do with some posts, like some blog posts, so if you click on this now, you're going to see some blog posts, and example, you see the user, you see the title, you see the body, and this is the one that we'll use. So let me go back. Then if you want comments, you want albums, you want photos, you want to build like a to-do app, then the users. So for example, if I click on the users, I will see the samples. Yes, I have ID, I have name, I have this street name. So if you need to work with some fake data, then this is the best place for you to come. So I'm going to use the first one, which is the blog post. So inside it, I have the user ID, I have ID, I have title, I have body. So what I want to do now is to copy this URL that is here. So if you're with me, this is what we'll do. So I copy this URL that is here. So I do Ctrl C. Then I want to move back now to my React. So I want to change screen to my React. So we are back in our React page. So what I want to do now is to go back to my blog page, because that's where we'll be working from. So look for my blog page. So I think it would be nice if we close some of these things that we don't need. I think we still need to work with ours. So let me close the bottle, the cart, the state, the main.js, the state, the use count. We don't need all those stuff now. So all I need now is the blog page. So I want to click on my blog folder, then the blog. What I want to do now is this. I want to clear everything from this blog. So you see, I've cleared everything, and I will not be using my SAS here because I'll be using Tailwind. So we have everything like this. Now what we want to actually do now is this. I want us, if you record the screen I showed you earlier, so let me show you again. So I want to use my actions now. I want to use my actions now to get this data. So let's see how we can use our actions to get exactly this, and to show like this on our console. So to do that, I have to go back to my VS Code. So let me go back to my VS Code. Then remember that when we are learning our hooks, I told you that we use the use effect to fetch data from the backend when the component is first loaded. Then whenever there is a need for an update, then we can as part of the use state dependency trigger a refetch or an update of that data. So we are going to use the use state now. So your hand is up to the now.
Sir, I don't know if it's only from my end. Your screen is not showing.
My screen is not showing. Okay, let me see why. Thank you for that. Okay, I believe it's showing now. Okay, so we are going to use the use effect. So but before that, I want to declare a use state. And you know, the use state is allows us to make update to the DOM and change if need be. So I'll use let, then blog, so blogs, then set blogs, then this is equal to the use state. So we have to import this, unless your application it will show you error. So my auto import is slowing down, so I have to manually import that. So I'll put it as null. Then I'll come here, destructure it from React, and put use state. So with that, now I've imported this and I will not have an error. So now the next thing I want to do now is to use so I'll use a comment, say fetch blocks data from backend or API. So anyway I want to call it. Then so I'll use the use effect. So I'll hit enter. So it has imported that from my React. Then I'll call it as normal. So you remember we learned this in our last class. So I'm going to put a comma here, put my empty array, that is the dependency array, so that anytime I want this my use effect to update after the initial render, then I can do that. Okay, so the next thing I want to do now is to use our ashes. So we are going to import ashes from ashes, then dot get. So this is a get request because we want to get the data from the backend. Then what do we do now? That URL that we copied from the browser, remember I copied that URL. So once again, let me show you. So I'll go back to the browser. So if you are writing the steps, please write. So if you go back to the browser, you will notice that there's a URL here, and I copied that. So I'll do again Ctrl C, because it's this URL that will help us to get access to this data from the backend or from the API. So let me change my screen to my VS Code again. This is only the stress we need to pass just to keep our recording. Okay. I don't think it showed my screen, so let me share my screen again. So this was the okay. So now it's showing the screen. So I'm going to put that here. Do Ctrl V. So that is that. Then dot then. So this dot then runs if there is a successful response. So it's like an if statement. It runs if something is positive. So we just put response resp as a shortcut, then put our anonymous function, then we'll do our console.log, then I'll put my response. Then after the then, to handle your errors, so what if you were not able to get the data from the backend? So you don't want you want to know why it is not able to get the data, so you need to catch the error. So use dot catch, then put your error, then do our console.log the error. So now if I save this, well, you will notice that we are going to see the list of blocks as an array object inside our console. So let's do that. So I'm going to save now. I'll go to my console. So let me switch my screen again. So go to my console, my browser. Okay, so if I go to my browser, I come to this my invite page, then I inspect just to get my console. So I'm going to drag this up so I'll have some room. So now I'm going to click on my console. So now you notice I'm having object. Now if I click this, you notice I have all of this. So I think let me change this to the normal method, so we're going to see that. So you notice what I have now. I have the config, I have the data, I have the headers, I have the request, I have the status. Now the status 200 means it was okay, that is a successful request. Then the status test and this. But we don't want all of this, we just want the data. So we are going to do .data. So I'm going to go back to the code. So let me show you one step again. So I'm going to go back to the code and change go back to the code, share my screen again, and change it to what? And change it to .data, just as we saw on the console. So .data. So if we do that, we actually get those data that we saw in our browser. So now I've done that. So let me switch my screen again, go back to my React. So I'll go back to my browser now. Now you notice now that I'm just seeing the data and they are 100, and that corresponds to what we had here. If I go back now, they told me that the number of blog posts is what? 100 word posts. Now from my React, I'm seeing that the array length is what? Is 100. So if I click this, you notice is going to open exactly like we saw it. So if I open the one that has index 0, I have access to the body, the ID, the title, and the user ID, just like we saw on the JSON placeholder here. So this is how you make a connection from your front end to the back end. You have the back end URL. Of course, you'll be given a documentation guide that you will get all the URLs. Then once you make that request, step by step, you have access to the data. Then with that, you can now know how you can construct the markup. But in most times, you must have already done the markup. So just make it dynamic. So now that we have this, I want to show the list of the title blocks first. So I just want to show the titles first. Then by the time we click the titles, we'll go to the details page. So let's do that one first. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to my, let me see if I can share my screen, a window. Yes, that will make sense. So what I'm going to do is since we don't need the console again, I'm going to close this. Let's see if I can minimize this, so that I will minimize the way I change the Telegram screen. So let me swap this like this. This should be my browser. Move it this way. then this here, close this, minimize, drag it this way. Wow, what a relief. And I believe this will work. So what I'm going to do now is, let me see if I can capture this screen so that I don't have to I think is this one. Let me see the one I chose. Okay, I chose this other one. No, that one is to stop. Let me choose this one. Let me check if it's still recording. It's still recording. 44 minutes. Okay, so let me see from my end if you are seeing both screens. I think it's showing half, so let me tap this one. Browser. It's only showing the browser screen. Let me see. It's only showing the browser. Okay, I think we'll just continue like that. So it's not working the way I intended it to work. Okay, so now what we want to do now is we want to actually show the list of blogs on our browser. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to type a h1, if you can see my screen, a h1, which I'll put latest blogs. Then I now need my list of blogs, so dot tab. So inside here, remember that when this data comes now, it will come as an array object. So before I can show my list of blog, I need to first of all update this blog from null to the blog data that we'll get using our Azure. So that is why here I'm going to comment this out. Then I'm going to use set blogs. Now I'm going to put that to resps.data. So that means it's going to do what? Update these blogs with this data so that we can now mark it here. But there will be an error, so I want to show you that error so that you will not make the mistake when you're practicing by yourself. So I'm going to enter my JavaScript environment, remember, then I'm going to do my blogs dot map, then I'm going to use my blog, so that means for each blog, then do my anonymous function. Then I want to return a div. So instead of me to add a return, I'll just add a parenthesis. So that is an ES6 shortcut. So I'm going to have a div here. So div, going to close that, slash div. So inside here now, I want to return my h3. So I'm going to do blog dot what title. So if I save this now, I will expect to see all the list of blogs on the page. So let me save and see if that is what I will see. But remember, I told you there's an error, and I want to explain why there's that error. So I'm going to share my screen again. So I'm going to expand this, but now I'm not seeing anything. It's just blank. And you know, when your page is showing blank like this, when you're supposed to see something but you're not seeing it, you know that there is an error that React did not catch, so it will not pop up as usual. So that error is being caught by your console. So we'll go back to our inspect to see the error. So remember, I told you that there's an error. So if I tap on my console here, you notice it's telling me something. If I go up, go back again, you notice it's telling me something. So let me look at the first one. Type error, cannot read property of no reading map. Now remember, the map is a higher array method used to loop through arrays. But remember that in our blogs, we first of all define blog as what? As no. So no is not an array. But you might ask, but I thought we updated it in our actions then, so that it will update to blog. But the truth is that the actions.get is a promise. You remember, we learn promise in our JavaScript, and a promise is a request that wastes time. So remember, we are making a GET request to a server which is on the back end. So it's going to make a trip to the back end and get a response, which can take some time, even though it's 1 second. So but that time is too big. So when React gets to that point, it is not ready. So it will now go and start to loop through a no variable, which is not an array. So by that is why it's showing this. So we need to somehow tell React, please don't loop through this data unless there is something inside, unless it is not null. So to do that, we'll go back to our code. So I'll go back to our code. So we are back in our VS code now. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to tell it, so I'm going to use conditional rendering here. So blogs and so now this is, remember, the conditional rendering is the short version of what? If statement. So it's like I'm telling it now, only when there is a data in these blocks, that is when you map. I know no is nothing, so no is like false. So only when it is true, that is only when I have updated it here, that you can map through the object. So with this now, excuse me, we will not have the error again. So if I save this, I'll go back to our browser, we will see the list of blocks. So let's go back to that blog. So I'm going to switch screen again. So it's the only headache that I'll have today. An error occurred. Okay, so we are back at our blog now, and we see the latest blogs, and we are seeing what? All the list of blogs up to what? 100. So the next thing I want to do now is we want to style this using Tailwind. So we want this to remain here, but it should be a little bit bigger. then this other block should be at the center, and they should not be in full width. So let's do the styling, then we will now continue with the rest of the application. So I'll move to my browser now. So let me shift screen. So because we are shifting screen, so I'm going to visualize what I'm typing, and we'll see the actual output. Okay, so what I want to do here now is this. I want this my h3, so let me give this a class name. So class name, so I'm using tailwind. Class name, so I'm going to give this a font of Poppins, font or bold, so that means the font will be bold. Then the text will be 3XL, that is 30 pixel. Then the margin bottom will be 5. So we have that. So we are done with our styling. So the next thing that we want to do here now is this. We want the width of this block to be 70 not 70 pixels, to be 70%. Then we want the margin left and right should be auto, so that it will center. Then the margin top, so the margin top, we don't need margin top because we already have a margin bottom here, so we don't need that. Then we want to add a shadow, just a light shadow. Then we want to flex the content, so flex. Then the flex direction will be column, flex will be column. Then the gap between each of these will be 4. Then we want a padding Y, that is the padding top and bottom, to be 3. Then the padding X, that is in the X axis, should be 4. Then I think that is it for that. Then we'll come here, do the styling again. So because we are shifting screen, so I will not show you the immediate output. So we'll just see the final output. Then here I want this to have a, is it a divide? Okay, so it will just add like a border button to it. Then I think, let me not use that divide, let me use this one, odd. So for the odd, I want the background color to be gray. Then for the even, I want the background color to be transparent, so it will be white. What else? Then on hover, so what do we, so we want this the text color should be black. So let's use let's use purple. No, let it be black. Text should be black. Then on hover, so if we hover over this div, I think that text black should be this one. So if we hover over this, we want the BG to be blue. Well, let's look at the type of blue. Okay, we have blue already, so let's use something that we don't have. Let's use purple. So let's use a lighter purple. I think this one will be okay. Then this text black. Then let's leave it like this. Okay, so we've done all this styling. So I'll do on Z. So we are not done with our flex. We need to finish that. So the items, I just forgot that the items should be center. Items will be center. Then justify will be center too. Then of course this gap of 4 pixels will now give them that gap. So let's see what we have there. So if I go to my browser, we'll see how all this will look like. So let me change to my browser. So we have this now. So you see how it looks like. So but we need to add some styling here. We need to add like a padding and a margin, and we also want to make the text to be aligned to the center. So this is the list of blocks. I also want to add something like a shadow to it too. You can see that our shadow here is showing lightly. So let's do that, then we'll come back to this. So I'm going to add a shadow to that. So let's go back to the styling. So to this our div, I want to add a shadow of let's use this right. Then want to add a padding in the y-axis. Should be, let's use 4. Then in the x-axis, padding in the x-axis should be 3. Then we also want to make the text align here to be centered. So let's do that for here. So we go our class, then text center. Okay, so let's see how this looks like. So let me share my screen again. Okay, so if I go back now, you see how it looks like now. Nice. So I think we have something to work on. So it looks better. Okay, so the next thing that we want to do now is once you click on any of these blocks, then it should take us to a details page. So up to now, do we have any question? Because this is just the list of the 100 blocks. So do we have any question? Does anyone have any question? Is there anything I did here that you don't quite understand? But of course, if you've not watched that list video, you might not understand. But I think in this class I made it slow and steady. In fact, the changing of the screen has made me slow, and I like it a bit. So is there anything that you don't understand? Because we want to move now to the block details part, where we apply the wrapperons that we learned in our last class. Okay, I'm not seeing any hand up, so let's move.
I have a question. No.
Is that Remy or is it Chidima?
This is Rami.
Okay.
My own is not showing up, and when I check the console error, it shows me, it says actions not defined. So I'm not sure, and I believe I'm following what you're doing.
Yes, you typed exactly what I'm typing, but you did not import it.
Oh.
So I will show you now. So I want to shift my screen. So I hope you can see my screen now. So if you go to the top here, you see here actions is imported. Okay, so I want to show you how to automatically import that, so I don't have to type this. So I'm going to clean this off. I hope you're watching my screen.
Yes.
So I've cleaned it up. So to import it again, I'm going to come back to this actions, remove the X and type it back. Then my IntelliSense will show me this. Then I'll just click it. Then it will add the automatic import again. I hope you saw that.
Oh. Yes, I saw it. Yes.
Okay, so that's how you fix your error.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. So any other question? So please, I strongly recommend you type along with me.
Now I see the blog post on my console, but it's not showing up on the screen, and I followed what you.
Okay, did you update this blog that is now here? This place I just highlighted. Now did you update it here?
Yeah. Set blog. Okay. No, I didn't.
Okay.
I did not. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, then another reason why it might not show you. Yeah, after you fix that, you need to do this conditional rendering here. These blogs and I believe you've done this one.
Yes, I've done that one.
Okay, so I think.
Can you go back to the top? Let me see. Okay. And one more question. What is this? I've not watched the other video, so I'm a bit. I'm just understanding as we're doing this class.
Okay.
So, but what does this RSE? What does it mean?
Okay, just like in this our map now. I think you know what this block here mean.
Yeah.
It's just a variable that you have access to when you are using your map, because it's actually a list. So these blocks here, this block here holds a list of all the items in the array object. So it's also the same thing with this. Then once there is a response, it is being saved in this variable, so you have access to whatever is being returned to you via this variable. So it can be refs, it can be arrow, anything that you want. Okay, you're welcome. So we want to move now. So what we want to do now is just as I've explained. If you click on each of those blog posts, it is going to take you to the blog details page. So now if I go back to my app.js, let's go back to our routes. So you notice we have this our blog/id, and it should load our details page, right? So we did this in our last class. So now what we want to do now is, remember that each of our blog has an ID. So I'm going to take it to blog/id. So using that ID, I can fetch that blog only instead of the entire 100 blog post. So again, we'll go back to our blog. Then we are going to add an event listener here. So we don't want it to only occur if the user only click the h3. What if the person clicks on the entire div? But there is one error that we have not handled, and let me show you that. We have not added a key to each of the blocks. So let me show you that. We need to handle that error. So let me go back to the browser view, and by the way, let me check if it's still recording. Yes. Oh, so all this while sharing the entire screen made the recording not to work. So now if you come back here, if you can view our data now, you will notice that each of the blog has user ID and what, an ID. So I want to work with the what, ID. But if you scroll down now, that scroll will be too much. Let me close this. So if you scroll down now, you see that React is throwing a warning for us. It says each child in a list should have a unique key, and in the list I just showed you upward now, they have a unique key of ID1, ID2 to what, 100. So to handle that error, I need to go back to my VS Code and change this. So I'm going to add my blog post here, then share my screen. So an error occurred. So let me share again. Okay, I think it worked this time. So now if I go to my VS Code, then I'm going to add here key, then blog dot user ID, as we saw on the console. So blog dot what, user ID. So if I save this now, go back to my browser and refresh, I will not see that warning of each child needs a unique key. So let's do that. So let me go back to my browser, share my screen. Okay, so if I refresh this page now, I should not expect to see this error again. So let me refresh. So let's see. Encountered two children with the same key, 10. So we have a unique error now. So I think encountered two children with the same key. Okay, so that means there is something wrong with the keys. The keys are not unique as it should be, because it's a fake API. So there's another way we can also handle that error. So I'll go back to my VS Code. So I'll use the index that map returns to us. So we need to clear this error. So if I go back to my VS Code, now inside this blog here, I'm going to clean this blog, add a bracket, then I'll put that blog back, then I'll put a comma I. Now you remember that in our for loop where we do for, then we say let I, then we put the condition and the increment. So since map does that automatically for us, if you only pass in a value, it is assume you want the data only. But if you pass in a next value, it assumes you want the index, which is that I. So it can be I, it can be index, anything that I want to use. So I'm going to replace this now with I. So instead of the blog ID, because the blog ID seems not to be correct. or it seems to be repeating. So I've done that, so I'll save now. Then I'll go back to my browser and let's see if that error has been handled. So if it's handled, you not see that error again. Okay, so I'll go back to my screen now. Let me refresh again. So you see the error has been handled, so we don't see that again. Nice. So what we want to do now is we want to my screen is not showing again. Okay, so why did it move? Okay, so what I want to do now is I want to go back to my screen, to my VS Code. I need access to this data so that we can use it to get the actual data that we want. Then next, now what I need to do now is this: each time the user clicks on this div, take the person to the blog details page. So I'll do my event listener here on click. Then of course I'll do my anonymous function. Then I'm going to add my I need to use my use navigate in order to use that parameter, just as we did there, just as we did in our previous class. So I'm going to come back here and I'll add let redirect, but I'm not spelling completely, equal to use navi. So wait for it to come out. So the use navigate is wasting time. Navigate. Okay, so it has come from React Rotterdam. So I import that. So now that I've typed that, I can now redirect on click to the details page. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to now put here, say redirect to, in quote, slash blog slash, then I will now put plus, just to concatenate this because it's a string, and I'll say blog dot id. Okay, I think why the previous one failed was because I use user ID instead of ID. So I think this one will work. So if I save now, so I've saved now. So let's go back to our browser and see what happens. So I'm going to share my screen now. So if I share my screen, so if I go back, you notice if I open this array object, I have user ID and I have what ID, and you now see why React was running, because the user ID is just 1111, but the ID is what is unique. Now you can also see why the index won't work, because it's from 0 to what to 99. So I didn't use the ID, we wouldn't have had this what error. So now if I click on this div here, you notice it takes me back to what, say blog details for what 1. Now I'll go back to my blog. If I just go to a point where I like and click this, show me blog details for what, for 39. So you see it's actually working. So what we want to do now is we want to fetch the detail for only this 39, then we'll now render it here. Are you with me? So if I go back again and I choose at random, so let me go down. So the last one will be 100. I see. block details for what? 100. So now let us get the block for only this. So to do that, we need to go back to our details page. So I need to go back to my console screen, to my blocks, to my VS Code screen rather. An error occurred. Okay, so what I'll do now is I'll go back to my blog, go to my details page. So inside my details page, what I want to do now is, we've already written how to get the ID that or the params that actually led to this page, and that's why you're seeing block details for what? ID, which is the one. So what I want to do now is, inside here we want to use our use effect again. So use effect, I'll hit enter, then I'm going to write it the normal way. So then I'm going to make this to only render only once. Okay, then of course I have to use my actions here again because I need to get that. So I'll use my, so of course I need to declare a use state variable first. So I'm going to say let blog, then set blog. So if I do that, then equal to use state. So we need to also import that too. So after we finish this block details, we are going to take our attendance. I think we've not taken our attendance today. So use state, the IntelliSense doesn't want to come, so what did I press? Okay, so I've imported the use state, then I'll put it as what? Null too. So just like we did in the blog page, then I'll come here and I'll say actions dot is still get request, so get, but now I'm going to put, so I'm going to come to this blog page, copy this URL that is here. So I'm going to copy this URL, Ctrl C, then I'll go back to my details page, bring out my quote, paste that, then I'm going to concatenate that. I'm going to put here a slash, then plus ID. So when you put a slash like this, it means go and get only what? The block that is behind this ID. Don't get the whole again, just get what? That one. And this is going to come as an object instead of an array, just as you see. So in order for us not to work like blind men, we need to console this. So what is that? So I'm going to hit enter dot then, just as we did before. So the response it's going to bring, so it can be anything. So I'll hit enter. So let's do our console.log. Console.log resp.data, you remember. So then we have to catch the error in case there's an error. Maybe it might be that you did not connect to the internet, so it might show a network error. So remember, this is online, so it needs the internet. So dot catch. So we need to catch the error in case there is one. Then we'll do our error. Then our console.log error, not the full error, just error. Okay, so we'll do our Alt Z to break. So now we have this. So what will happen now is, before we start integrating this, before we start showing it here, we just want to see if we're actually getting this. So always learn to test your code bit by bit. Don't write so many code then only for you to test and it's not working. That means you have to start debugging so many code. So I'm going to save this. Then I'll move to my browser screen. So that has worked. So let me go to my browser screen. So if I clear this now, I go back to my blog. I see the list of this. Now if I click on this, you notice here it shows me that I click what? The one that has an ID of 2, you see. So you're actually getting it. Now notice that it's not coming as an array of objects, but it's coming as an object only. So we will not need to map through it again. Just put our dot this and dot that. Okay, then let's do another one again, blog. Then let's click on this one. So you notice I'm getting this now. Nice. So we can now show the details here instead of showing this blog details for what? 18. So with this now, we'll go back to our VS Code. So I'll change my screen again. So I'll go back to my VS Code. So they turn the light again. Okay, so what I'm going to do here now is, again here we need to do our conditional rendering. So what I'm going to do here is, I'm going to move this, then use a fragment. So it must be okay. We don't need a fragment here for now. So I'm going to enter my JavaScript environment. Then I'm going to say only when there is blog, that is when you map. Of course, I've forgotten something. I've not updated the blogs here. So I'm going to do set blog. Remember, if you forget, React will not forget. So reps.data. So that means we have updated it. So we can tell it to wait. So it will not wait forever here. So and yes, this is where I'll need my fragment. So when there is data, then I want to show inside this, I want my h3 I want to show the blog.title. Let's now display title. Then I want to show, get a p tag here, then the blog.content. So if I go back to my browser, I can see some other things that I need to show. So let me go back, but you not see that, but let me show that. So we have, okay, just, it is not content, it is body. So I think those are the only two things that we need to show. So it is not content, it's body. Okay, so we just show these two things. So let's first of all see the output, then we can now style this as needed. So if I save this now, then I go back to my browser. So I need to share my screen. Okay, so if I go back to my browser now, I'm seeing this, but it's not looking as if it's much. So let me go back to my blogs. I come here, I'm seeing this. I think I'm not seeing the title because I didn't spell it well. Title, let me see. Title, body. Did I spell the body well? Oh, I spelled buggy. That was nice. So I've changed it from that buggy to the body now. So I'm now seeing it here. So it's showing the way it should show. So this is the title and this is the content. So I made a spelling error here, so that was why it was not showing the first time. So now what we want to do now is we want to style this, make this to be at the center, this to be at the center. Then we now have our buttons. Then from these buttons that we add now, we'll try to delete a blog. It tells us that it has been successful, but by the time you go back, you see what 100 blogs instead of 99. So that will not give us a feel of what the backend actually is. So that's where we will now switch from that point to our offline, and that's where we switch to the JSON server. Okay, so let's move back to our screen. So let's switch to one of my screen is missing my VS Code. So let me stop sharing. I think there's an error. Okay, my VS Code. Let me see. My VS Code screen is not showing again. What do I have on my VS Code? I have, so I should be seeing something like TypeScript. I'm not seeing that again, so let me cancel. Is it a network error? I don't want to share the entire screen. I think the recording is still on. It's still on. I think I need to close this.
Hello, sir.
Yes,
Hello.
yes, I can hear you.
Okay, please, just a suggestion. Can you open the attendance list so that we drop while we are waiting?
Yes, thank you for that reminder. I've almost forgotten that. So our attendance this week will be a Google form. So you only fill it once. But I'm trying to, I don't know why my VS Code terminal is not showing again on my Telegram. So while I'm trying to troubleshoot that, let me paste let me paste the attendance link. So the attendance list, I've pasted it, I mean the URL, so you can just log in and fill in the attendance. It requires you to fill in your full name, a feedback, and a date. So while you're on that, let me try to fix this. Believe. Okay, so I've seen my screen. So the attendance should not take in much. So
Hello, please, sir. Sorry. The feedback. What is expected for us to see?
if you don't have anything, just say no. Just put no there.
Okay.
But maybe if there's something that I don't like about my class, or maybe a place you want me to improve or something like that, you can just put it there.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
But if you don't have anything, just put no, or just put nothing. I think the field is not required. Let me see if it's required. It is not required, so you can leave it blank, and the form will still submit. Okay, so I think while that is on, I think I'll close it some minutes after the class. So let's continue. And then let us start up the JSON server today and be able to integrate the login before we close. Okay, we have about 1 hour 6 minutes left. So now I want to start this. So what I want to do now is I'll come here. I'll put this should be a class name. So I'm going to put here flex items should be center, then justify should be center too, then the flex direction should be colon, then the gap should be 4, then I want this to have a class name, or font should be Poppins. The font weight should be bold. The text size should be 3XL, that's 30 pixel. Then the color, so the text color should be blue. I think that is it. Then the margin bottom should be 5. So we'll come to this guy too. So we also use a similar stuff, so I'll just copy this, Control C, paste here. Then the font weight should be normal. Then I want the padding in the y-axis should be 3. Then the padding in the x-axis should be 5. Then I want a little bit of shadow, so shadow should be MD. Okay. Then the font size should not be that, it should be 2XL. Okay, so I think we have this. Then one thing I would like to add is I need to add okay, let's leave that. So I can add, so let's leave that. This is not a design. The goal here is not design. So if I go back to my browser, so let me bring this back here, then bring this back here. So if I share my, if I change my screen now to the browser, so you should be seeing my screen. So if I go back to that blog details page, I'll have something like this, but I need to change the text here to be black instead of this. So let me just change that behind the scene. Text here should be black. So if I do that, you notice that the text is black, but the font size is too much. So let me reduce that. To 1 REM. So I just use the conditional on. Okay, I think it's better like this. So this is how we have it. Then let me add a margin top to the edge one, so it should not be too close to the nav bar. So the empty should be just be 5. So I've added that behind the scene. So if I come back now, it will look like something like this. Nice. Okay, so this is how it will look like. So the next thing I want to do now is to add our button. So we need to add a back button, then our delete button and our update button right below this, so that if the person wants to go back, the person doesn't have to use here to go back. So the person will just go a history back. So we just use -1. Remember I explained that in the last class. Then so the -1 is just like, if I click here now, if I go back, if you notice it will load this back. So I'll just use -1. Okay, so let's do that from our details page. So I'll have to share my screen again. So let's go do that. An error occurred, so let me share again. Okay, so if I go back to my code now, what I want to do now is below this div here, I want to now render some buttons. So I'm just going to put it as a div. So let the IntelliSense show, yes, then tab. So I'm going to have button. So this is going to So I need them to have a class name. So button dot. So you see the steps that we are following. So I hope you're writing down the step, although the class is being recorded. So this one is going to be back. Then shift alt arrow down. So this one is going to be delete. Then this one is going to be what? Update. So I'm going to show you how to add a React icon. So in case you're not working with a Figma guide, just as you're working with now, you can add your own icon, nice icon. So update. So update. So update. So just delete update. So I want to flex this. So flex items should be center. Then that is not this percenter. Center. Then justify should be center too. Then the gap should be 4. Then the flex direction should be row. Then the margin top should be 5. Then we can also add a shadow too. A shadow of MD. Let's see what large looks like. Okay, so we have that. Then we are going to add an outline to this. So let's add outline. So I'm going to split my cursor now by holding my Alt and clicking those. So outline, just want it to be 1 pixel. Then the PY should be 2. That is the pattern in the y direction. Then the PX should be 4. So I think that is what we need for that. Then I'm going to do my Alt Z. Then what I now want now is this. So let's just finish the styling. So if I hover on this, so on hover, the BG should be, so what should be the background? It should be nothing. So I think we just use our outline none for here. But for here, once I hover, that's not this spell, hover, the BG should be red, because you want to do something that is serious. So we want to use red 600. Then text, so still the text on hover, so we have to put another hover here too. So the text should be white. So because I'm not a typist, I'll just copy these two. Do Ctrl C. Then I'll paste that here. Then here, instead of this to be red, it should just be green. And one thing I forgot is we need to add a border radius. So space rounded rounded. Let's use SM. Okay, so we have this now. So let's look at how it is. This our hover green is not showing, the IntelliSense is not showing that it recognizes it. That means it won't work. So let's use that means I don't have green there. Let me see if the green here will work. Okay, so I think it's because I have green as a customized value. Okay, so it's working now. So if I save, somebody is raising hand up. Omonola, please ask your question. Omonola. Okay, so while you pick up your mic, so let me change to my browser. Okay, so if I go back to my browser, if I click on this now, I notice I have these 3 buttons. So now you see the hover. I think the outline is not showing, so I think that -1 has void it. So you see how it's showing. So you notice how it's showing now. So and the gap is also not showing. So let's fix that. So I have to share my screen again. So you join me. Okay, so let's go back. So the outline 1 is not working. The 1 pixel is small. So let me make that 4 pixel. So let me just see if it shows behind the scene. It's not showing. Let me just add only outline. Okay, only outline is working. Okay, only outline is working, so we'll just leave it at only outline. This is not a design. So I can put outline color. So outline, instead of black, it should be gray. So it should be something like this. Okay, for all of them. So the next thing I want to do now is in this place, the gap is not working, and I don't know why it is not working. So flex items, center, justify, center. The flex direction should be row. So let me save again and see why that is not working. Okay, I think it is working now. Okay, so let me share